Happy Wednesday to you. Really looking forward to our time together tonight. Last week we left off in Ecclesiastes chapter 5 at verse 1, where Solomon admonishes us to be more intentional by way of our worship to God. To guard our steps, as he says, as we enter into the house of the Lord. And we ended our class in Nehemiah chapter 8, a great case study, I think, of what this looks like, a case study by way of preparation and reverence and respect, intention and engagement. Ultimately, the point being, our worship to God, it can never just become one of those things, never another thing that we just check off the list. We have to do better than that. Tonight, I want to pick up in verse 2 of chapter 5. It's here that Solomon, in the same context, he tells us to be very serious, to be very intentional by way of our words, the commitments we make to God, especially. When we commit to something with God, we need to see it through. Obviously, the greatest commitment we made to God was in the waters of baptism. We entered into a covenant established by the blood of Christ to die to that old man, to live, to walk in newness of life, walking in the Lord's footsteps. And it's a really big deal. That's what we profess in the waters of baptism. And the question becomes, how are we doing with that? Are we honoring that commitment? Do we feel the weight of that commitment as we should? Solomon's going to go on to talk about the impactful nature of our words in general. He brings up the reality and the struggle, I think, for all of us, where our mouths are leading us into sin. Our words matter. They matter to God. They matter to others. They should matter to us because they're impactful. Therefore, they should be measured. Oftentimes we say things and then we go back and say, well, I didn't really mean that. But it's what we said. And then we don't follow through. We don't honor the commitment that we made with our mouths. And much like a child, we say or think, we don't have the audacity to say it because we know how silly it would make us look, but well, I have my fingers crossed. That's what kids say, right? Solomon reminds us that this makes God angry and we're going to be judged by our words. So let's just be reminded of that tonight. I think that's a healthy reminder for all of us in light of our struggle. Now, if we have time from there by design, repetitiously, Solomon returns to the subject of riches, their promise, and ultimately their letdown. I want to look at some lies by way of riches, ultimately telling us we need to learn contentment, as Paul talks about in Philippians 4. We have to keep our riches, our wealth, our blessings in their proper perspective, but also understanding that more riches, they're never going to satisfy us. That's the big lie. So really relevant stuff for all of us here. I can't wait to discuss it with you. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait to be with you tonight. Hope you'll be there. Thanks.